We had our top people, Wasserman. They all came in on the Olympics, and then I saw Johnny. And we got the World Cup, too. And, you know, it's only because they rigged the election that I'll be your president representing you there. You know, I got both of them. I got the Olympics and I got the World Cup.
Okay, no, World Cup and Olympics aside, he just said that it's because they rigged the election that I am in power now, right? Isn't that what he just said?
And I said, you know, it's too bad. One was in 2026 and the other was in 2028. And I said, I won't be there. I won't be your president. But then they rigged the election and now we won. So I'm going to be your president for the Olympics.
Now, obviously, that isn't what he meant. He didn't mean that I rigged the election to take control of the government. But this is what Trump does. In fact, this is what fascists do. They say things that have double meanings that could be easily interpreted another way to provide plausible deniability. That is what he's doing. Do I think he rigged the election? No. I think that he would have if he could. I think he probably tried, but I don't believe that, if there was any fraud, I don't believe that it was enough to overturn the election. I think he won. And the reason I think that is because I spent the past 4 years learning how the voting system works, and I know enough about it to understand how secure it is and how we count them and how we keep it secure. So anyway, he's pushing boundaries. He's trying to normalize things while maintaining plausible deniability. It's like that one video that he did with, who was it, Chris Wallace maybe? I don't remember. This one right here, talking about immigrants.
And we know they come from prisons. We know they come from mental institutions.
No, they don't.
Insane asylums. We know they're terrorists.
No.
Nobody has ever seen anything like we're witnessing right now. It is a very sad thing for our country. It's poisoning the blood of our country.
Poisoning the blood of our country. What does that mean? Other than its meaning that existed when Hitler used those exact words. What else could that mean? Hitler said they were poisoning the blood of the country, the immigrants, who were the Jews at the time. They believed that they were immigrants, even though they'd been there for hundreds of years. He said that the Jews, the immigrants, were poisoning the blood of the country by intermarrying, by having interracial marriages with good Aryan Germans. And they were diluting the strong Aryan genes. What else could Trump mean by that? Plausible deniability. Somebody hears that, they're not going to realize necessarily. But he's calling out to a very specific community. And he's getting attention, most importantly. Check this out. This is Stephen Miller at that same rally, I believe.
And we're not going to let the radical left indoctrinate our children into believing there's 435 genders.
Again, nobody is doing that. I don't know what you're talking about. This is fictitious. If this were happening, sure, yeah, okay. Problem with that. You're indoctrinating children and brainwashing them to blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, fine. I'm against that. It's not happening. Same thing happened during the Satanic Panic. They were saying, should we allow Satanists to be babysitters, to work at daycares, to be teachers or police or whatever? Should we allow them to be in those positions? Because, as they said at the time, we know that they have higher rates of taking advantage of children. In reality, like, how many people did that even affect? Almost none. But you know what? If Satanists were intentionally setting out to take advantage of kids and secretly using their position as like a teacher to do it or something like that, I'd have a problem with it, of course. If there was an elite cabal at the top of government and media and the military and business and everything else, and they were pulling strings like puppet masters, I'd have a problem with it. Yeah, it's in your head. It has always been in your head. This is not happening. And you can't convince me that Stephen Miller doesn't know that he's full of on this point. He can't possibly believe that this is real, can he? By the way, this guy's an actual Nazi. I mean, I'm not saying that to offend him or to like insult him or something. He's a Nazi.
Because President Trump knows there are men and there are women. And it is not up to you whether you're a man or a woman. That's a decision that's made by God, and it can't be changed.
Well, brother, you can say that until you're blue in the face, but the reality is that there are trans people. They exist. This is a well understood, what do you call it, condition, phenomenon in society that has existed for like a very long time. And I'm not talking about in American society. I'm talking through human history, okay? It has always existed. So I don't know what to tell you, but you're just wrong. This does exist. This is a thing. Now, what is his goal here? What is he trying to do with this stuff by banning people from using like the bathroom of their choice or whatever? How many people does that affect? Almost none. And the pretext he's using is because they take advantage of children. Anybody ever notice that it always routes back to that? That is always the excuse used by the far right, the satanic panic included. It's always about the children. Get people whipped into a blood frenzy over it, over this fictitious situation that's not happening. Now, they care about trans people being in bathrooms because they're afraid they're going to take advantage of children. So they must really, really care about what the Catholic Church is doing, right? Moving priests from parish to parish to evade prosecution. They're not telling us the real reasons why they are doing these things. When I say they, I mean Stephen Miller, Donald Trump, and other people in his cabinet. They're not giving us the real reasons. What is the real reason? What is the real goal? They say they want to stop trans surgery on minors, right? That basically doesn't happen. To my knowledge, that might even be illegal in the United States. Well, for many forms of it, at the very least. It's such an uncommon occurrence, it's ridiculous. I think it was like 1,000 people had some kind of treatment at all who were under 18 because they're trans. 1,000. This exact thing happened in Germany in like the 30s. Hitler started this whole big thing about how church musicians were Jewish and they were slipping in secret things and they needed to get rid of the Jewish church musicians who had converted to Christianity and everything. You know how many there were in the end? 2. Out of the 18,000 pastors in the Protestant church in Germany in the 30s, 2 churches had one single organist, like a church musician, who were Jewish converts. That is what is happening. It's all happening all over again. We're watching it unfold again. Here's another one. They want to ban surgeries for kids or whatever, right? What about the 30,000 or so rhinoplasties, nose jobs, that children under the age of 18 have had? I think over the past 4 years, I don't remember. I haven't looked this statistic up in a while. 30,000. Do they care about that? Have they done anything about that? So what's the real reason? What's the real motivation? It's not to protect children from being taken advantage of. It's not to protect them from surgeries or whatever. What's the reason? If they told us what the reason was, nobody would support it. Nobody. Because it's monstrous. And the monstrous, bizarre carnival continues on. This is at that same event, I believe. This is the opening prayer at the pre-inauguration Trump rally, January 19th, 2025.
The worthy is the Lamb that was slain, but he is standing. Jesus Christ sits on the throne in heaven, and he is completely unmoved by any sort of political power. You can't elect him. You can't impeach him. He is the King of glory. The King of glory.
Okay, nobody tried to elect or impeach Jesus, I assume, right?
And he is worthy of your praise. So, President Trump, we set the name of the Lord upon you, and we declare that no weapon formed against you will prosper, that every tongue that rises up against you in judgment will be condemned. And if God be for you, who can be against you?
Did you catch that line there at the very end? One more time.
That rises up against you in judgment will be condemned.
Every tongue that rises up against you in judgment will be condemned, quote unquote. If you criticize what Donald Trump is doing, if you don't like the way that he's doing things, if you're disturbed by it, if you protest it, you will go to hell. This is a cult. And, you know, people have been admitting that for a long time, that it's a cult. This is Shane Vaughn. This one is from early January 2024. This is during the Stormy Daniels stuff where she was testifying to the fact that Trump had committed fraud to get elected, basically.
Listen, I'm not dumb. I don't know what happened with him and Stormy Daniels. I don't know what happened with him and E. Jean Carroll.
I mean, I think everybody knows what happened there, right?
He may be guilty of it all. And yes, call me a cult member. I don't care.
Okay, I will. You're a cult member.
Why? No more than I would have cared what David did with Bathsheba.
That is a really interesting thing to do, what he just did there. Did you catch that? Comparing Trump to King David. I mean, I've gone through a number of videos with Shane Vaughn. I'm not going to do it again here, but I've gone through videos with Shane Vaughn where he outlines and explains the Trump religion. Not death cult, not like cult of personality, but the religion, the theology of Trumpism, where he is at the center as a messiah, a literal messiah. That is what Shane Vaughn calls him. And in the videos that I have covered in the past, Shane Vaughn has very clearly compared Trump to Jesus 1-to-1, like 15 different times.
Why? No more than I would have cared what David did with Bathsheba if I saw that he was winning the war.
Okay, so you're telling me that you have no moral bottom. Telling me that you are willing to vote for anybody who does anything, even if that person matches up exactly in an uncanny degree with the qualities described about the Antichrist. Even if you're effectively voting for the Antichrist, you're still going to do it because you perceive him to be a messiah. It's a death cult and it's a religion. And here's just one more example of him admitting that. Again, I covered this clip recently, so I'm not going to do it again, but one more example of him admitting to it.
We would never be this defensive of Donald Trump if you would not have forced us into this cult mentality.
It's my fault, see, yeah. My fault that Shane Vaughn and everybody else is in a cult. Totally. I appreciate that he's admitting it, though, at least.
Yeah, we would now fight for Donald Trump. Why? We believe in justice. And when we see a man that God's put his hand on being attacked night and day, you are forcing us to look like a cult.
And of course, attacking Trump can mean all kinds of things, up to and including charging him with a crime. Simply charging him with a crime and convicting him by a jury of his peers. Seriously.
Patient and steadfast in our support of a single man. We are cult followers. Yes, we follow a man. Yes, we do. We drank the Kool-Aid and it's orange.
Again, I appreciate that he's admitting it here for once. It's just really mind-blowing to me that people are not catching on to this by this point. Like, we have watched them slowly but surely drag us over to the right. And you know how they've done that? One more thing on this. There's something called the Benjamin Franklin effect. The effect goes like this. If you meet somebody in the middle, they're more willing to work with you on other things. Benjamin Franklin knew a legislator who he didn't like and didn't like him. And one day they got into it all the time. One day Franklin asks the guy if he can borrow a book, meeting him in the middle. And there's a cognitive dissonance that forms in this legislator's head. It's noble and honest to loan somebody a book, but I don't like this guy. So how do I reconcile that? By solving that cognitive dissonance, he gained a more positive view of Benjamin Franklin, of everything he stands for. And they ended up, like, down the line, they ended up working together a lot after that. Taking one step at a time, one little step, by saying, I think we can all agree that Joe Biden sucks. He's not good. You're taking that one little step in that direction. If Joe Biden sucks, okay. But don't take that one step with the Trump extremists. Don't give them that ground, because that moves the Overton window to the right, the window of acceptable public discourse. It moves it to the right. Don't give it to them. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments. It's just like, I don't know what to do with this. Absolutely nuts at this point.